What is up, guys? Jeff here for One Fish, Two Fish with another edition of One Fish, Two Fish Explains. Today what we're going to talk about, something we're hoping you guys will find interesting, and something you may see at some stores and not actually understand what it means or the significance of why it is posted or why we're posting it. So in our systems, so we have 4 main systems for fresh water. I'm going to show you guys all those. We have 5 systems for quarantine. Each system, when I say that, it is a group of tanks. Our main systems have a ton of tanks on them, over 30 in each one. Our quarantine systems are a little bit less. They have between 6 and I think 12, if I'm correct. Again, we'll go back, we'll take a look. And for all of our systems, we will write some very important information on it that you may have seen in other fish stores, you may have seen here, and not actually understood why we are posting it. So we're going to take a walk back here, guys, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. We've got two systems on either side of the store. So one system is actually a very bunch of tanks all set together. So this right here is actually 2 systems. There is 2 on this side. There's also 2 on this side of the store, and then in each side, in every side of the tanks, we've also got, a very large, massive sump, a ton of media. We have monster UV sterilizers. We have got, a couple of 1,000-watt heaters. So that is for our actual system that we sell out of. And then we have got the quarantine systems back here. Now again, as it sits right now, quarantine system with 500 axle or auto sinkless in it. As it sits right now, there is only 1 of the 5, which is why if you're seeing a lot of our tanks empty, that is the reason behind it. We are patiently waiting. Glass has just been a very tricky thing to come by. So we are waiting for the supplier to be able to send us the rest of them. They have been sent. I believe the middle of next week we're going to get a batch. So once that gets done, we'll have all these set up and moved. By the time this video comes out, you'll probably have already seen the quarantine tanks in here. But what I want to show you guys today is all around our store, we will have sheets like this. And what these are obvious. They are just information sheets on different things, different things that are in that particular system. All systems are sort of, they're reflective of something, either a type of fish or a part of the world. So this is why I wanted to share with you guys why this is important, and when you see this information, it's something you should definitely take advantage of. For what we'll put on ours, we will put a variety of things. We will put if it is a wild caught or if it's captive bred. There is not a ton of captive bred fish in right now because of the systems and that, but we do actually have a couple lists where the entire lists are captive bred. Everything from mollies, guppies, platies, just your regular schooling community fish. We'll have a bunch of those. Most of the fish on the saltwater side. The saltwater side, we have the exact same thing. Sort of as the quarantine, there is separate systems. There's 5 separate systems for it. One of them, all that it gets, are clownfish, captive bred clownfish. We have not bought or sold a wild-caught clownfish in many years, and to be honest, there's just no reason to. The cost is very similar, and if you get a good supplier, and we have a great supplier for our clownfish, there's never any deaths. You'll buy 100 fish, you'll get 100 fish, which is very rare. It's one of the very few spots when we buy fish. The other thing that we do on ours is we will show you a piece of information that you may not know how. We will put where they came from. Now, why is that important to you? A couple of reasons. One is disease. If you have got an entire tank, let's say I'm just from Colombia, and all of the part of the world, everything in that tank is from that part of the world, from that. If you add some fish that are from a completely different spot in the world, the disease that you're going to introduce, it's called cross-contamination. The disease, if it has something that you're going to introduce to your previously healthy fish, will wipe them out. We get this a lot. We don't get this a lot, but we see this occasionally, we'll say. If somebody has a fish and they say, oh, my friend gave me a couple fish and I put it in, and their tank has been based one direction, let's say for cichlids, Lake Tanganyika or something like that, if you put a different cichlid in there that has a disease and it gets into the Lake Tanganyika fish that have never seen that disease, it is much more hard on them than it's going to be on the fish that's used to it. So when fish, certain diseases from different parts of the world with fish, and they all have some certain different things that they deal with, if it comes from one part of the world, they're very used to that disease. Their immune system has probably fought it off in the wild many times. They're able to get it and recover from it very quickly, especially when you give them a little bit extra, whether it be meds or temperature or salt or whatever it is that you're fighting. But it is always very important to note, if you are dealing with a disease that fish is not used to, that fish has never seen in its life, it is going to be much more effective at actually hurting your fish. So that is why you always want to make sure any type of anything that you see, you want to attack it very, very quickly. Do not wait on that stuff. Like ick is one of the most common. Ick is the easiest thing that you can fix. If I'm going to get any disease in the store that we have to deal with, ick is what I want all the time. Now with salt water, it's more of a pain for sure. It takes more time, but again, it's a very easy disease to fix. There are lots of medications for it. Even in Canada, and we have lost a lot of our access to medications. There's even some natural stuff that does help. There is some over-the-counter stuff that you can get, and in Canada you are also able to go to a vet, and most vets do deal with fish stores. We have a vet that we use that we can recommend, and they'll call us for some diseases and say, look, what is this? Have you seen it before? And all that stuff. So you want to make sure anything you see like that. And the reason we're pointing this out is because on all of our systems, once the quarantine is done, you will be able to actually look and see a couple of things. How we got the fish, whether it was captive or if it was wild caught, and we will also put on it what part of the world it comes from, so that you can figure out if all of your fish are from one part of the world. If you stick with that one part of the world, you will probably have a lot less to deal with in disease, in fighting, and all of this stuff, because your fish are going to be used to it. So it's just a little something that we thought we had, because like I said, we have seen in the past, we have done it. As simple as cross-contaminating, and this is not, it happens, it's not super, especially in your guys' home aquariums, it's not something you're going to deal with that much, but even for us, you'll see that we have different, if you'll see around the store, we will have different colored nets on every one of our buckets. So here you've got green, here you've got yellow, here you've got blue. Down there is another bucket, we'll have stuff. I'm trying to not, we're just actually mopping the floors here, so I don't want to walk through them. But every one of our buckets will actually have a different color, and then what we will have is, when we look in the back, it will give us an idea of what every tank system is. So right now, what is in our systems is, the first fish system is all Singapore stuff. The second fish system is all Sri Lanka stuff. The third fish system, and even this it's Bangkok and Thailand, very close to spots, but even in the different Bangkok to Thailand, you can get some different stuff in them. And then for the other, we just have different stuff. Wild caught stuff, Peru, drop-offs, it depends where we are in the system, but that's, and then for the saltwater stuff, we also have, Indo, Bali, and Jakarta is in the first system, Cebu and the Philippines, LA, and then Warehouse, and then Inverts and Clowns, which is our end system. So again, the reason we post all this stuff is for the consumer. You can see exactly where this stuff comes from. You can see if it is going to fit your tank. You can see if it does happen to, if there happens to be something already in your tank or something on one of our fish, which obviously we try to make sure that never happens. But another thing that we have gotten in the past is, my tank was fine for 3 months, everything was good. I added a fish, and in 3 days, every one of my fish died, but that fish is still alive. A lot of the time when that happens, that is something that whatever fish that you added to it, it had something
and it just gave it to the other fish that were in there that were never used to seeing it. So the fish that has it and is still alive has probably seen that disease many times. It doesn't affect them. Not that it doesn't affect them, that's obviously not right, but it doesn't affect them to the level that it's going to affect a new fish that has never seen that disease, never had to recover from it in the wild and all that stuff. So whenever you're doing your research on fish before you're going to start a tank, a lot of people nowadays, instead of deciding that, they're going to decide what part of the world they're going to go with. If you're going to go with a saltwater tank, you know, Indonesia is got a ton of stuff, from coral to fish to whatever. The Philippines has got a lot of fish. That's where a lot of our fish come from. So if you want to stick with that, our systems are all labeled. If you always buy out of the first system, you're always going to get fish that come from the Philippines. If you go to the second system, you're always going to get fish that comes from Bali or like that. So, it is a way to minimize kind of the stress level the fish are going to deal with. And on that off chance, if you do, because nobody, and all you guys will know this, nobody gets through a fish tank without dealing with disease. It's very, very rare. It's unfortunate, but diseases are very common in fish. You see them. A lot of our wild stuff, we actually have a couple of tanks on our quarantine system that are dedicated only to wild caught fish, because they always come in with something. They always need to be medicated. 50% of them come in and they just get auto-medicated because we're so used to what they come in with wild-caught fish. And of course, we don't want to send that home to you guys, especially with a tank that has never seen that disease or anything like that before. So that is just a little, the next time you're in your local fish store, ask them if they can tell you where the fish came from. If they can, do a little research onto your fish tank. How much of your stuff is from that spot? Do you have anything? Is it a complete sort of new from your tank? So if it is something brand new, just make sure, quarantine it up, and you should be good to go. Thank you guys very much for watching. We hope you liked this video. If you do, of course, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.